If you want to build an impactful business, then you're going to have to build a reliable team. And my guest on the show today is Nathan Hirsch, and Nathan is an expert in the area of team building. Having built a successful business selling tens of millions of dollars on Amazon, Nathan diverted his attention to building FreeUp. FreeUp is a marketplace for virtual assistants, and Nathan actually practiced what he preaches and used VAs, hired VAs, built a team, an incredible team, to grow that business to 8 figures in under 4 years. He's recently sold that business, and in today's episode, I'm interviewing about that whole journey, about how to really partner with VAs to create great working environments for them, and also for you to help your business reach its goals. It's going to be a great time. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up? And welcome to another episode of the Impact Unlimited podcast. This is the show where I sit down and interview industry-leading experts with an aim to equip you with both the skill sets and the mindsets to become an impactful entrepreneur. So if you want to become a better leader, build bigger businesses, get more done in less time, and create an impact in the world, then look no further and let's get started. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show today, guys. It's my honor to have Nathan on with us. Hey, Nathan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
No, it's my honor. Before we get into introducing you properly and diving into your story, I love to ask a couple of icebreaker questions to the guests that come on. So I'm going to dive in and ask you that. Have you got any good books you're reading right now?
Yeah, right now I'm actually reading Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson.
Oh, nice.
So that's my go-to. Before that, so I'm launching a membership site now called Outsource School. So I've been reading a bunch of membership sites. One by Callie Willows, which is a good one, or Catherine Willows, forgetting her first name, and a few others as well. But that's what I'm venturing into.
Yeah, nice, man. No, I just picked up Traffic Secrets. It's I'm looking forward to reading it. I hadn't actually read, believe it or not, shamefully, .com Secrets. So I'm finishing that first, and then I'm going to start Traffic Secrets. So are you enjoying it so far?
It's good, and I was actually in the same boat. I never read his other books until this year. So this year I've read all 3.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome, man. And last one that I love to ask is, if you could travel in time, would you go forwards or backwards? Where would you go?
Outside of the pandemic, man, I wouldn't travel at all. I think we live in the best time with technology and internet and all of that. Maybe fast forward in time would be cool to see what other new technology and what life is like, but I'm pretty content right here.
That's a great answer. Love it. Awesome. So tell us a bit about your journey, Nathan, for everyone listening. Your last 10, 20 years in entrepreneurship in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, growing up, my parents were both teachers. So I always grew up with the mentality that I was going to go to school, get a real job, work for 30 years, retire. And when I was little, my parents always used to make me get summer jobs. I say little, but 15, 16, whatever the legal working age was. And I was working 40 hours a week from every summer vacation, every winter vacation. My friends were outside playing, enjoying their vacations. And I learned a ton about business and sales and working with other people. And I also learned how much I hated having a boss. So when I got to college, I kind of looked at college as a ticking clock. I had 4 years to start my own business, or I was going to have to go out and get a job. And I started off buying and selling people's textbooks, competing with my school bookstore. I would offer more money than the bookstore would. I would sell them to these online distributors. And from there, I created a referral program. And before I knew it, I had lines out the door of people trying to sell me their books to the point where I got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty scary at the time. My parents were teachers, so me getting kicked out of school wouldn't have gone over too well. So I quickly pivoted, and I had sold some of these books on Amazon. This was 2008, 2009. Yeah. No one really knew what Amazon was. And I thought it was so cool. I could have this 24/7 storefront, and I just had to figure out what to sell. So I started experimenting with all different types of products and somehow came across baby products. And I got really good at selling baby products on Amazon as a single college guy, which was a little weird. But this business grew, and I ended up selling over $25 million over a 6-7 year period. And I had to start hiring people. I was overwhelmed. I was trying to balance college and work life and all of that. And I started hiring college kids. And outside of my business partner, Connor, who was incredible, everyone else was too distracted by school and other college stuff, and they weren't reliable. So I started looking on remote hiring platforms like the Upworks, the Fivers of the world. And I started hiring VAs, and I didn't know anything about hiring VAs. I didn't even know where the Philippines was on a map. And so I had to build all these systems from scratch. I made a lot of bad hires, and it took me years to come up with a good system and process for hiring VAs. And I also didn't like the other platforms. It just took forever to post a job, get 100 applicants, interview them one by one. So I ended up building my own marketplace called FreeUp that pre-vetted VAs before they get on, matched them up quickly, had great support and a no turnover protection. If someone quit, we cover replacement costs. And we started this business with $5,000, and people really liked it. And we grew, and we used organic marketing, which we didn't even know what that was at the time. We learned it to scale that business to 8 figures in 4 years. And we're actually acquired by one of our customers at the end of 2019, which is a whole nother story we can get into if you want. But once we sold that, people started asking us if we could teach them how we built this business with VAs, our system for interviewing, onboarding, training, managing, how we hired VAs for organic marketing stuff like partnerships and podcasts, and for operation stuff like customer service and bookkeeping. So we created this membership site this year called Outsource School, where you get access to all of our trainings, all of our systems, all of our processes, plus a community that helps each other to scale together, and all our support as well. And that's kind of the short version of how I went from a broke college kid to books to baby products to FreeUp and now to Outsource School.
Amazing. That you did an amazing job of summarizing that in that amount of time. That was awesome. I feel like I've heard your story so many times because you've been a guest on a bunch of the podcasts I listen to. So I feel like this is just a real privilege for me to be able to drill down into some of this stuff myself. And I feel like there's a million different areas we could go into. And I think what I'd love to really dive into is building your business with a team of VAs for sure, and then also maybe in the second half of the time we got together is really talk about how you grew FreeUp and then the process of selling that. And just from my own inquisitive mind, I'd love to hear a bit more about that. But a lot of our listeners would be people that are, maybe early on in the days of entrepreneurship. They get introduced to this idea of outsourcing. It can, be a very alien idea. They think it's just for call centers, cheap employees that aren't very good, and have this negative sort of connotation about it. Clear that up for us for a minute. Like, obviously, you've built a business off the back of a really great team, all over the world. Why should people be exploring this idea?
Yeah, I mean, hiring VAs just gives you so much flexibility as an entrepreneur. I mean, to take a step back, there's 3 different levels of people you can hire: followers, doers, and experts. And when I'm talking about virtual assistant, I'm talking just about the followers. Some people say everyone that works from home is a VA. Just for clarity, I'm just talking about the followers. So followers are $5 to $10 an hour, non-US. They're there to follow your systems, your processes. If you don't know how to do something, if you can't teach them how to do something, you can't hire that follower. The doers are the freelancers, the graphic designers, the writers, the video editors. You're not teaching a graphic designer how to be a graphic designer, but they're not consulting with you either. They're there to do that one task at a high level. And then you got the experts, the high-level freelancers, consultants, agencies. They could be $50 an hour, they could be $1,000 an hour, but they're there to bring their own strategy, their own systems to the process to the table. So when we're talking about VAs allow you to get out of the day-to-day operations of your business. As a business owner, we tend to just keep adding stuff to our plate. We're getting customer service emails. We have to ship products. We have to do all this stuff. And you want to be focused on the long-term vision, the strategy, the partnerships, the sales, the expansion, the marketing. So what hiring a VA allows you to do is relocate your hours from, hey, clearing my inbox every morning, to let's go find partners. Let's go find clients. And the beauty of it is you don't have to hire people full time. I mean, we had 35 virtual assistants with FreeUp. I didn't just wake up one day and hire 35 people and cross my fingers and hope it worked out. I started off part-time, and I increased their hours over time, and then hired more people and all that. And even now with Outsource School, I mean, just because I sold a company doesn't mean that every future idea I come up with is going to be great. So when we're launching Outsource School, we don't know if people are going to like it or hate it. So instead of hiring 5 full-time VAs, we hired a part-time VA, 2 actually. One, a bookkeeper for 5 hours a month to get us on top of our books from day one, because understanding your numbers is important. And if I'm spending my time doing bookkeeping instead of growing the business in the first 6 months, that's going to really hurt me. And the second, 10 hours a week just to clear my inbox and book my podcasts and my meetings. So it saves me an hour or two every single morning, gives me a head start to every single day. And so we move forward with that. Now, once we got sales and now we have over 150 members, we quickly increased them to full-time. We were fortunate enough that they were able to do that. You kind of take a risk when you hire people part-time that their hours might get booked up by someone else. So we increased them to full-time. And now every hire going forward is probably going to be full-time, but you still have that flexibility. And all entrepreneurs use all three different levels. So yes, I have my VAs that are the followers, but I also have a few different video editors. So when I'm filming courses, I can go to them and say, hey, who's available? When can you get this stuff by? Same thing with graphic designers, same thing with writers for our blog. So they're a little bit more project-based. And then I have an expert that is, we call her client, I forget what we call her. We're not a big fan of titles here, but she handles the customer experience. So she has a lot more experience with membership sites than me. So she's building like the back end, our Facebook group, the email chains, like all of that. And she's bringing her own strategy to the table. I'm not teaching her how to do it. So you're using all three levels to really grow your business. And I'm not hiring her full-time. I have her on a monthly retainer. She's got other clients besides me. So you're using all three of these with that really nice flexibility as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, that's really good, really helpful as well. Those three levels, that really makes a lot of sense. When you were starting out hiring VAs, what made you decide to go for a VA over a traditional employee?
So here's kind of my opinion on the followers, hiring followers in the US. Because when people say employee, I'm thinking US employee. Let's take customer service, for example. Let's say I hire someone in the US for $15 an hour to do customer service. $15 an hour is not a terrible rate. It's not an amazing rate. It's a pretty decent American rate. Let's say best case scenario, I invest a lot of time and money into training them. They're really good. They're awesome at their job. How long are they really going to be happy for at $15 an hour? Eventually, they're going to want 17, 18, 20, 25. And then you've got a tough decision to make. Do you drastically overpay for that follower position? Or do you start all over, get someone else at 15, and you've lost all that time, money, and investment? Now, if I do the same thing with someone in the Philippines, let's say I hire someone for $5 an hour, and best case scenario, they crush it. They're a rock star. These are my customer service reps at FreeUp. They're in the Philippines. I'd put them against any customer service rep out there. But if they're a rock star, I can increase them to 7 or 9 or 11. I had some VAs that were more than that. But the point is, they're going to be with me for life. They're going to be with me for a long period of time. So a lot of people don't think about that. They're so focused on, hey, if I get a US person now, it might help my business more than the Philippines. But the turnover kills businesses. If you're constantly churning people over, or you have to overpay people down the line, that can really hurt you. So there's no right or wrong here. There's plenty of clients I work with that hire some US, some non-US followers, or just go one or the other. But these are pros and cons that you have to keep in mind when you're hiring.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of people that say, part of the culture of Filipinos especially is that they're very loyal. And we've certainly experienced that. Is that part of that process, that thought process for you with the...
Yeah, I mean, I love hiring from the Philippines. I mean, you can't put everyone in a country in like the same category, but that's been my experience too. Two things I really love about them, a bunch of things actually, but speaking English at a high level, which is super important for someone like me that only speaks English. They learn it in school, and being able to communicate is one of the biggest things and one of the biggest issues people go or have with people in the VA space. They consume a lot of the same culture and a lot of the same media as we do. So video games, books, movies. So that comes into play. If you're selling US services and US products and they're already familiar with it, that's a big head start. And then lastly, they're all about family. They live with large families. They have a church that's their family. They have outside communities that are family. And what I want to do in my business is create a family environment where all the VAs like each other. They like me, but they also like each other, and they're one big family, because there's always going to be a client that can come out and pay my VA more money. Like there's always going to be that. So when that client does come and they offer that person a higher pay, they're not going to want to leave their family. So either they won't leave, or they'll say, hey, Nate, I just got this other job offer. I really love working for you. What can we do here? And you'll figure out a solution. So those are just some of the reasons, but I personally definitely love hiring from the field.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Talk to us a bit about that whole idea of team, because I think that's, for me, probably one of the mistakes I made early on with our hires is we kind of wrongly, my mindset was, those people are kind of overseas employees working for us, rather than like, hey, let's build a team, a team where we talk about what we did on the weekend. We know each other's family situations. We know all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Talk to us a bit about some of the things you've done to, really foster that team atmosphere.
So again, it's all about reducing turnover, and we actually call it our BARF method, which is a funny acronym in cracking the VA code. I wish it spelled something different, but it stands for buying in, appreciation, building relationships, and family. And we already talked about family. Building relationships is getting to know them on a personal level. What are their kids' names? What movies do they like? Sharing about you, connecting with them on social media. Showing appreciation is not being the client that only talks to them when they mess up or do something wrong and saying, hey, great job. This is how your project impacted the big picture. And building, what was the first one? But buying in is getting them to understand the why of your business, who you're helping, why you're passionate about it, how they fit into the long-term picture. And when you get someone to buy in, you show appreciation, you build a relationship, and you create that family environment, that's when people love working for you. And that's how you become, and I talk about this all the time, how do you become your VA's favorite client? And I'll ask people, I'll say, hey, what other clients do you have? Who are your favorite clients? Why are they your favorite clients? And my goal is always to become all of my VA's favorite clients. And yes, there's a money component as well. And if you lowball people, it makes it very hard to be someone's favorite client. But it's not all about the money. If you pay someone a fair amount of money, a fair salary or whatever, and you're getting them to buy in, showing appreciation, building relationships, and creating that family, that's how you become that favorite client.
Yeah, very good questions to ask. Who is your favorite client? It's a great question to ask. Really good. I like that a lot. I'm gonna use that one. And so then, from an entrepreneur's perspective, what can they do? Like, what do you see as in growing FreeUp? Obviously, you have eliminated a lot of the processes and stress and need, because you have already pre-vetted and trained people. But what would you see as entrepreneurs when they're going out and hiring VAs are the biggest things they do wrong, like the biggest mistakes they make in terms of onboarding, getting the most out of that relationship, those kind of things?
So the biggest mistake is definitely during the onboarding process. And I always break down hiring into 4 parts. You've got interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. And so most entrepreneurs know you need to interview someone before you hire them. Most entrepreneurs know you need to train people, and most entrepreneurs know you need to manage them in some way after the fact. What everyone forgets to do is the onboarding. So what we have is a step in between interviewing and training. We call it our SICK method. That's SICC. It stands for schedule, issues, communication, and culture. And we have a meeting with them where we go through all of these. What's your schedule for other clients? This is your schedule for us. Would you have outside commitments? How many hours total a week are you working? We go through issues, personal, computer, weather, internet, power. We make sure we know how often they have those issues, what the backup plan is for each issue, what the communication plan is if they have those issues. We go over communication channels. We use Slack. We use email. How do we use each channel? We also go through other software we use. If we use Time Doctor, which I personally don't, we let them know up front. So if they hate a software that we use, they're not going to work with us. And then we go through culture and talk about, hey, we care about ideas and feedback and positivity, and we don't work with people that cause drama or people that don't fit into our culture. So we've gone through these 4 things in a 20 to 40-minute conversation, and then we give the VA a chance to back out, because we'd much rather the VA backs out if it's not a good fit, if our expectations are too high, if they don't like our software, whatever it is, than for us to figure that out 2 months down the line. And almost all issues that you hear about with VAs disappearing, causing issues, whatever it is, could have all been avoided by a better onboarding process. And that's honestly one of the best parts of our course, Cracking the VA Code, is we just give you our onboarding process, the exact questions to ask to make sure that you avoid every possible issue that we've seen in the past 10 years. And all of that saves you hours and hours of time down the line.
Yeah, so good. That's awesome. You mentioned about Time Doctor, the app, and that's something that, again, we've kind of flip-flop between. Definitely on the end of the spectrum now, where we don't do any time tracking, don't do anything like set out. It's a case of more responsibilities, get that stuff done. Where do you sort of sit on that, time tracking and that kind of, level of management?
So we use the FreeUp software because we hire our VAs from FreeUp, which is kind of funny because I used to own FreeUp. But they don't have a screen tracking software, but they do log their time. And we're not monitoring that like crazy, but they do clock in and clock out, which is pretty basic. We don't use any screen sharing software. In my opinion, it really hurts the trust and the relationship between you and the VA. It also just doesn't take me very long to see if someone's like doing their work or not doing their work. If they were working 40 hours a week, I know what that output should be. So it's not that hard to figure that out. But if you are going to use those softwares, make sure you tell them that during the onboarding. I've seen clients who will train a virtual assistant. So they've interviewed them, they train them, and then they're like, oh, by the way, I need you to use Time Doctor. And the VA is like, whoa, you never mentioned that. Like, I wouldn't have taken this job. And then they're both in a very bad position. So no matter what software you use, and again, there's just pros and cons. There's no right and wrong here, is you need to establish all of that up front.
Yeah, that's good. And to the people that would say or have that mentality that if they're paying, that old saying, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And if they're not paying as much as they would to maybe a local employee, they might get a lower quality level of work. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I just sold a company that had 35 full-time VAs in the Philippines, and I would put any of those VAs against any U.S. employee virtual assistant out there. So not that there aren't better ones, but it can definitely be done at a very, very high level. We had no office. We had no U.S. employees. It was me, my business partner, Connor, and 35 VAs. We didn't even have an office in the Philippines. They were all working from home. So, I mean, I think that's proof enough that it can be done. And what you just need is the systems and the processes to interview, onboard, train, and manage them effectively.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about the journey of FreeUp for a little bit then, whilst in the second sort of half of the show. You talked about the growth of it and how it was all sort of done through, with a team of VAs, which is obviously an incredible story that you believe in what you're teaching so much that you've seen it happen. Talk to us a bit about, the early days of FreeUp. What was the model? So people would hire VAs from your pool and then you would take a cut of what they're paying them, or how does it work?
Right. So, I mean, we started off with this really crummy software that we had spent a few $1,000s building. Clients could see their freelancers could clock in and out, and that was it. The software didn't do anything else. People had to email me and call me, Skype me their requests. We had to bill them manually every single week. So our billing periods were Wednesday to Tuesday. We charged people on Thursday, pay the VAs the following week. So they had a week to dispute anything, and we would take our 15% from the freelancer. But the way it really worked is we would get thousands of applicants every week, VAs, freelancers, agencies, experts from all over the world. We would vet them using our hiring process, let only the top 1% in, and then those top 1% would get access, or our clients would get access to. And it was free to sign up, no minimums, no monthly fee and all that. And you would just pay for the hours you use. And we're a marketplace, not an agency. So we're not we're not managing the VAs or the freelancers for you. You're working directly with them. The VAs and the freelancers set their own rates. You can negotiate rate. You can agree to fixed price. All of that is factored in there. And then on the back end, we protect you if anything goes wrong. We have 24/7 support. If someone misses a due date, if you're not happy with someone's work, you can report it. Obviously, you should try to resolve it with the VA and freelancer first, but we're there to help. And we have that no turnover protection where if someone quit, we cover replacement costs. And I'll also say that I still really love FreeUp. I love the new owners. I think they're doing a great job. I obviously love the internal team. We train them ourselves. I have a great relationship with them. And so I still get my VAs there, and I recommend using them. But you can go there and get a really good virtual assistant. If you don't know what to do with that VA after the fact, it only does so much good. So that's a lot of why we built Outsource School to, yes, you should go to FreeUp, but you don't have to. You can go anywhere and use our systems. But you need those systems in place to make sure that you have a good experience.
It's a really amazing, you don't hear that all the time when someone sells a company, to hear someone singing the praises of the people that have taken it over. So that's really, really positive. Did you say 6 years that you've been running it?
4 years.
4 years, which is that's even more insane. Talk to us a bit about how you grew it so quick.
Yeah, so it's really our organic marketing playbook that we teach at Outsource School. And every part of this playbook, the VA is doing 80, 90% of it, and we're showing up and doing that last 10%. So the bottom and the core of the playbook is affiliates, right? You need an affiliate program. With FreeUp, we gave out 50 cents for every hour that we build the people forever. With Outsource School, we give out 40% of a membership. If you get someone to become a member for $9.97, you get 40% of that, and it's reoccurring. So that's the foundation. Then we go on podcasts. So podcasts are great because you get to network with hosts and build relationships. You get to get in front of thousands of people at once. It's good for SEO. It's good for backlinks. It's good for a snowballing effect to lead to better podcasts and better opportunities. So that's part of it. And we have a course called the Podcast Outreach Formula that you get in our membership. And the VA, I wake up every day to a list of podcasts that my VA has done research on that are relevant, that are in my niche. And we teach you how to do that. And then you go on and you share your story and provide value and give people a place to contact you. Second is partnerships, and we have a partnership playbook. One of the reasons that we were able to scale FreeUp is we reached out to other people in the industry. We started in the e-commerce space before we branched out, and we said, hey, you sell Amazon software. We have VAs. We don't provide Amazon software. You don't provide VAs. Let's work together. Let's set up content swaps. And my VA would organize this where every 6 months we'd reach out to a partner and say, hey, what do you want to do together? It could be a guest blog post. It could be a podcast. It could be a VIP networking event at a conference. That's the high level of it. But we built over 300 relationships, and every quarter, every 6 months, every year, depending on the frequency, every partner's at a different frequency, we'd reach out and do something together. And we'd constantly be getting in front of other people's audiences. They'd be getting in front of our audience. And that leads to a lot of great leads, a lot of great partnerships. From there is content. Anyone that follows me on Facebook or LinkedIn, Nathan Hirsch, or Instagram or Twitter, Real Nate Hirsch, I put out content every single day, and that's a big part of it as well. And all these things kind of go together, right? Like someone might read your content and then invite you to their podcast, or people might have you on your podcast and become an affiliate. Like all these things kind of go together. The last thing is influencers and micro-influencers, people that have a group or community of your ideal audience. Could be an Instagram person with a lot of followers, could be a Facebook group, could be a podcast, whatever it is, reaching out to them. And we have a course called the Lead Generation Formula that teaches you how to have a VA to research that. And like Russell Brunson calls it your Dream 100, very, very, very similar. So that's kind of our organic marketing playbook. And I firmly believe that can be applied to any business out there. And we're even applying that to Outsource School right now. I mean, we have to replace an entire team. So we're slowly training and building these systems, but we already have the podcast thing running. That's the first thing we built. We just set up our partnership program. Anyone that wants to be a partner, email partners@outsourceschool.com. I have a VA that'll respond and get you set up and handle all of that. And then same thing, we have lead generation, reaching out to affiliates. We have the content. The only last thing that I left out, which is more of a personal thing, is I reach out to 3 new entrepreneurs every day just to network with them. And I don't sell them. I don't pitch them. I just learn about them. And that over time, you look back and you're like, wow, my network is huge. So I think that those things together really complement anything you do on the paid side.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I mean, lots of different angles there, which is really good because, often you'll hear ask people and it'll be marketing, Facebook ads, but there's so many different angles you've taken there, especially the partnership angle. I really like that idea of, doing content swaps. It's really, really, smart idea. That's good. So they talk about the just in these last few moments, like the final stages of FreeUp, because I'm always interested to, and I'm sure there are other entrepreneurs out there listening, would dream of one day selling a business, but it's maybe not always how it's cracked up to be, or it doesn't always go the way you feel like it might. What was that kind of final phase of selling the business like?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy. One of our customers reached out to us and said, hey, we've been using FreeUp for a year. We really like it. We want to get into the VA and freelancer space. We don't want to start from scratch. Would you be interested in being acquired? We talked it over. They ended up making us an offer that we thought was more than fair, if not aggressive. And from there, the due diligence began. I mean, they had a million questions for us. How does customer service work? How does billing work? We had really great SOPs that helped us. 5 minutes later, we'd respond and say, hey, here's our 50-page SOP on billing that lays out every possible situation. From there, we had a million questions for them. We didn't want to sell our company to someone who's going to drive it into the ground or hurt our partnerships or hurt our internal team that worked so hard for us. So we want to know about all the other companies they bought, how they treat their people. We got to go to their office. It happened to be an hour and a half for me. And they've won Employer of the Year in Tampa like X amount of years in a row. So we were very impressed. The next part was not as much fun. That's the lawyers getting involved, which wasn't their fault. It wasn't our fault. It's just kind of 2 lawyers doing their things, lots of back and forth on very small details. And I mean, they were super professional. We were too. It's just the process. And from there, we wanted to make sure it was a win-win-win for everyone. So we took $500,000 from the sale. We gave it to our team in the Philippines to make sure they were taken care of. We made sure their jobs were secure, that they weren't going to lose their job in the transition, that their bonus and their raise programs were still in place so that they didn't get screwed over in the deal. That was really important to us. So at the end, I mean, before we signed on the dotted line, we kind of looked around and we said, hey, is this a win for everyone? It's a win for us, a win for them, a win for the internal team, a win for our partners, a win for the freelancers and the clients. And it's really tough to turn something down that you see as a win for everyone.
Yeah, so good. So you weren't building it to sell?
We always build our businesses to be sellable in the sense of having good people and systems and processes. I mean, we're doing the same thing now with Outsource School. We're not like, oh my God, we're going to sell this in 4 years, but we set it up so it's systematized, so the business doesn't run on us, and it is sellable if it ever comes to that. And I mean, from just a logical standpoint, and this is how my brain works, there's only 4 real ways that you run a business, right? You either run it forever, you run it into the ground, which hopefully you don't do, you get an investor, which I personally don't want to do. I feel like I'm working for someone else, or you sell it. Like, give or take, those are the options. So sure. Either way, if you're going to, hopefully you don't run into the ground, and whether you want to get an investor or not, I promise you need good systems and processes to get that. But if you want to sell it, you need systems and processes. If you want to run it forever and not be tied to your business and really just have a job, you need good systems and processes, and VAs and all the stuff that we teach at Outsource School can help you accomplish either one, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. How long did it take from when they contacted you to the date the cash was in your bank?
About 6 months.
Okay. Yeah. And how did you feel when it did get finalized?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was followed by, okay, we need to tell our team, which was very emotional. I think they were sad. I mean, they were super appreciative for the bonuses, but we love working with them. And I mean, we still check in with them and make sure that they're happy with the new owners. Obviously, I mean, COVID and stuff is going on when we're filming this. If you think it's bad in the US, imagine being in a third world country going through it. So we care about them. We're making sure that they're okay and all of that. So I think immediately afterwards, that was our first impression, was like, oh man, we have to tell everyone. That's going to be emotional. And then we did that, and then it started to sink in. And then it became a conversation between Connor and I of, hey, are we sick of working with each other? Did we drive each other crazy for 4 years? Do we still want to be in business together? And fortunately we did. And then it was all about figuring out what the next adventure was. And that's Outsource School.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that to finish up, more about that, how people can find out more and get involved with that.
Yeah, so if you go to outsourceschool.com, and we have a bunch of free stuff like a VA budget calculator that helps you figure out how many VAs you can afford. You can get that right on the site. But we have a main course called Cracking the VA Code that gives you our exact system for interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing virtual assistants, videos, cheat sheets, examples of us interviewing and onboarding virtual assistants. You get all of that you can apply to your business right away. That's $997. And with that, you get a 1-year membership to Outsource School. So you get every other course, every other playbook that we come out with for a year. All of those are around operations and organic marketing. From there, you also get a year of support. So if you have issues with VAs, if you have questions, you also get a year access to our community, which is a group of entrepreneurs that are learning how to scale and manage virtual assistants, going through the same program that you are. You get a $50 FreeUp credit. We're partnered with my old company, and so much more. And we're also building some VA software that the same guy who built the FreeUp platform is working on this software that is going to make it easier to write SOPs and stuff like that. So we'd love for people to become a member. Anyone that is a member, we just continue to add value and making it worthwhile. And that's really the only way we run business. And that's why we're so excited about Outsource School.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it sounds super exciting. We'll leave a link for it in the description below. Listen, Nathan, you've been super, super helpful today, super inspiring, super encouraging. Is there anything more, one final thing, the one thing that you would leave people with to take away today?
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you having me. I think that you just have to get in the mindset of every single part of your business. You pick it up, you figure it out, you systematize it, and you delegate it. And that's what's going to help you scale over time. I'll also just add in that I love networking with other entrepreneurs. So if you want to connect with me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever it is, even if I can help you with VAs, great. If I can help you with anything that has nothing to do with VAs, I love just talking to other entrepreneurs. So feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. No, we really appreciate it. I'm sure some people will be taking you up on that offer and checking out the Outsource School and loads more. So thanks for coming on today, Nathan. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, thanks so much for being with us on the Impact Unlimited podcast today. If the content has helped you in any way, please reach out. We would love to hear from you. Tag us on the socials if anything has inspired you from this episode. And listen, if you've got 2 minutes to spare, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Honestly, we'd be forever grateful. And to show that, when you do, be sure to enter our monthly appreciation prize draw where we give away Amazon vouchers to our podcast community. simply head to impactunlimited.com/podcast. That's impactunlimited.com/podcast in order to find out all the information as well as explore more free training content. Listen, it's been a pleasure. And remember, don't just make an income, make an impact. All right, we'll see you next week.